So you have heard someone saying, I'm applying Agile methodology. You have heard someone saying, I'm a certified Agile project manager. I'm a certified Agile project implementer. You've heard someone saying, I know about Agile. So what exactly is this Agile methodology that we talk about in project management? You're going to find out as we go through this video. So let's get started. So in the next section of the video, I'm going to explain to you the main differences between Agile and also traditional project management. So we are going to look at different dimensions. For example, what is fixed in terms of planning, in terms of delivery, in terms of customer role, in terms of change, also in terms of progress, in terms of team structure, in terms of risk profile. So let's go through the differences between Agile and traditional. So as you can see on the screen, the first dimension we're going to look at as we compare Agile and traditional project management is what's fixed. You find in traditional, or we normally call it a waterfall or predictive approach, scope is actually fixed. And then we have the time is also fixed, and also the cost is also fixed. But when it comes to Agile, we are focusing more on the value and quality and also on time. Then when it comes to the dimension on planning, we have traditional or waterfall, we have comprehensive planning upfront. In most cases, for traditional approaches, you plan upfront before doing anything else. And then when it comes to Agile, we have what is called rolling wave, just-in-time planning. You plan as you get closer to execution of some of the project activities. Then in terms of delivery, traditional approach is normally a big bang at the end, which means you wait until the project is almost over for you to start gaining or seeing benefits of the project. However, when it comes to Agile, you have incremental every sprint. So you increment every sprint. So you start seeing values as quickly as possible. Then in terms of customer role, in a traditional waterfall, you have sign-offs of customer requirements right at the start and also at the end. But as compared to Agile, you have continuous collaboration when it comes to customer role. You work with the customer from the beginning all the way up to the end. And then when it comes to dimension for change, for traditional, you have formal change control, which is mostly costly. So you agree on the scope of the project at the beginning, and then you formalize anything that has to come as a change into the project. However, when it comes to Agile, you find that change is expected. You're expecting change. Even the last minute change, you should expect it in Agile environment. And change is always welcome, and it's cheap, because you do it as early as possible. Then in terms of progress as a dimension, you'll find that for traditional, it has to be a percentage complete versus plan. But for Agile, you're working with output delivered. What are you delivering in Agile approach? Then in terms of team structure, you have functional silos, which means you have different systems working independently for traditional waterfall approach. When it comes to Agile, you actually have cross-functional and self-organizing teams. That is the main difference between the traditional team and Agile. In Agile, they are self-organizing, which means if you're an Agile project manager or Scrum Master or whatever, you have to make sure that you are letting the team self-organize themselves and you just work as a facilitator or servant leader. Then in terms of risk profile, you find that traditional has got a high risk, okay? Because you might discover some of the things right at the end, which might be costly. Agile, you find it's a low risk because you discover. So this was the main comparison between Agile and traditional. The main reason why I had to present this is people have to appreciate and understand why Agile came into play when traditional was already existing and it was already working. So you might be asking, what actually are the benefits of Agile methodology? There are 4 basic benefits of Agile methodology. And the first one is it's faster to market. Say, for example, you have a product which you are going through incremental. It's faster to market that product. So Agile normally is very good when it comes to new products. And also, it helps to reduce rework. So what do you mean by rework? In a predictive approach, you execute the project until the end, then you present the product to the customer or the client. If there are going to be any changes after that period, you might have to rework. And it might be costly because some of the items might not be reusable after reworking. But when it comes to Agile, because you're going through the sprints, it's very easy to make those quick corrections. And also you find that you're likely going to succeed using Agile as compared to predictive. You might be asking, why is that? It's because in Agile, you are focusing more on producing or creating as many requirements as possible. You want to complete as much scope as possible within a specific time and cost, as compared to predictive, where you want to make sure that you have a specific scope that you have to complete within a specific time and cost. So you might spend more time on the items which are not giving more value to the customer as compared to spending more time on what is giving value to the customer. So in this section of the video, I'm going to cover the main Agile terms that you normally find in an Agile environment. So you have a product owner. So in an Agile environment, a product owner is responsible for creating the product backlog, is also responsible for prioritizing the product backlog. What do we mean by this? Product owner is a representative of the end users. They know the requirements which are valuable and which must be executed earlier as compared to the others. So they prioritize them. Which one is first? Which one is second? How do they do that? They use what is called the product backlog. So from this product backlog, this is where the technical development team, they start executing the items, or they start providing solutions for the requirements as prioritized from the product log. How do they do this? They also have a meeting, which is a sprint planning meeting before they execute. So what are they doing in the sprint planning meeting? Sprint planning meeting is the meeting that is held by the development team to agree and understand what is going to be in the next sprint based on the product backlog. So they'll pick the product backlog, the first prioritized item. They put it in the sprint backlog, which means what they are going to create during that sprint. And using that sprint meeting and also the sprint backlog, they can now execute an iteration, okay, or a sprint, if you want to take it that way. So product owner is the main player when it comes to Agile methodology. They create the requirements, user stories. They also help to prioritize the requirements and the user stories. Do not make a mistake I've seen with other project managers. They want to create a product backlog when it comes to Agile methodology. That is incorrect. If the product owner is not appreciating, is not understanding what is a product backlog, it is your responsibility as a project manager to make sure that you educate them. You don't do it, you educate them in terms of the importance of having a product backlog. And then they should be able to create. Don't ever make a mistake of creating a product backlog or even prioritizing it. It is the responsibility of the product owner. So we have discussed about sprint planning meeting, which is a meeting which is held before execution of the next sprint. And the purpose is for people to understand what is going to be in the next sprint. Then we have another term for sprint backlog, which means this is the list of requirements or user stories that has to be executed in the next sprint. So the other term that you're going to find so common in Agile methodology is sprint or iteration, which is the amount of work that is going to be done within a specified period. In most cases, 2 to 4 weeks. You'll find that you have a sprint which is going to run 2 to 4 weeks, which means within 2 to 4 weeks, there are certain items you agree to deliver in terms of features, in terms of benefits, depending on the type of the product or the project that you are running. So you are using the sprint backlog to run your sprint. Then one of the terms you're going to also come across is a daily stand-up meeting. What do we mean by this? So during an agile project or agile execution of a project, you want to have daily stand-up meetings. And do not make mistakes I've seen with other project managers. Daily stand-up meetings should always run maximum 20 minutes, but up to 15 minutes is acceptable. So what is the purpose of this meeting? This meeting is supposed to discuss only 3 specific points. So the first one is to discuss what was done yesterday by the team. Remember, they're in a sprint. They have a sprint backlog. What was done yesterday by the team? You also want to understand what is planned to be done today. That is also very, very important in a daily stand-up meeting. You also want to understand what are the impediments, what are the blockers. So if you are an Agile Project Manager or a Scrum Master, you always want to remove these impediments or these blockers. So it's one of your objectives to make sure that you remove all those blockers. So in a daily stand-up, you want to understand what are the blockers. You remove the blockers. Then the other common term you are going to find in Agile methodology is what is called a release. So what do we mean by a release? A release is, it might contain a number of iterations, but this is a deployable list of features that can be used by end users. So a release can contain one iteration, or a release can even contain a number of iterations. So it all depends on the type of the project that you're executing. Some release might take a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so on and so forth. But the moment you deploy them as part of the features of the product, they become usable, okay? So it's also very important to understand what is actually a release.